Hello everyone out there on the internet. Welcome to the Eugene Torto YouTube channel. And it is a beautiful day here in Pennsylvania. I don't know if you can all see all that, but it is nice. And I am going to adjust the brackets on my Targa top. This one here came loose in this corner. That makes it a pain every time you go to put them back on. If you're having a lot of trouble putting your Targa roof back on, a lot of time is the brackets need to be adjusted. Normally the rear ones you never have to mess with. They're shimmed, and you just want to have this nice even gap all the way across the back. I forgot the exact dimension. I think it's around 1/4 of an inch. And the front ones, basically you would lower this, put your top in place, tighten up your back ones, and then adjust your front ones. To adjust them though, you got to remove all this trim. You got to remove the mirror, this piece here, and the A-pillar. And I'll go ahead and remove the roof and show you more detail about that. And I actually have two Targa tops, a transparent one that came with the vehicle. That actually doesn't sit even here on here. I just decided to leave it and just adjust the front ones, because this one does sit even, and I'm not going to re-shim them every time I swap tops, so the heck with that. Remember, have your vehicle, your C4 has to be on a nice level, even surface as possible, and that's important because there is some flex in this frame, and it only takes a little bit to get everything out of alignment. So I'll go ahead and remove the top, and I'll go into some more detail. Okay, the top is off, and if you're wondering about my top, this was a used top that I got off of, I think it was Facebook Marketplace. It was bright yellow. I went ahead and put this carbon fiber vinyl wrap on, and then I made a new headliner for it. I got some material off of eBay and glued it to a piece of cardboard, and then glued everything in. And here's the bracket that came loose. See, that shouldn't be sliding like that. Okay, and that's the one I need to adjust. Now, one thing, when you remove the bolts, the front bolts, those stay in place. They aren't supposed to come all the way out. They stay in place. Should be a little plastic collar that holds them in place in the A-frame going around the window. The bottom bolts, hopefully you guys can see that. Let me see if I can get a better picture. I don't have a table to lay this on, but see how that stays in place? Well, this one's missing it. See how that's coming out? Should be a plastic collar around that. I lost that somewhere. And this one's missing the plastic collar too. Apparently I need to get a couple of new plastic collars. They must have fell out. That, or they're stuck in there and just not doing their job. I'll have to look at that. But these are supposed to stay in place. They're just supposed to slide around. There's a little plastic collar that keeps them from coming out. So if these plastic collars are missing, try not to lose those bolts. You can get them online. I actually have a couple extra. The same with these bolts here, these torque head bolts. And to get those off, when you're removing your roof, you will use a special wrench that comes in your glove compartment there, the center console. It says Corvette on it. It's a T40. If you don't have one, you just get yourself a T40 bit like that and a ratchet, and use that. And I'll show you the trim that needs to be removed. Alright, now this trim here is called the halo. If you have to shim these, you have to remove this whole halo. In my case, I don't have to do that, but the shims you can usually find on eBay, and once you get the trim off, it's easy. And now the pain in the butt part is you need to remove this mirror, this trim here. All this trim here has to come off, and the A-pillar trim. At least I believe it does. It's been a while since I've done this. But that all comes off. And then under here, Hopefully you can see that. See if I can get that better shot. Underneath here, that's where you'd go with the with your torque bit to tighten that roof down. There's 2 bolts right here. I've heard of people just drilling a hole here and here, and this way they don't have to remove all the trim. You could do that if you don't mind having those extra holes there. I'm not going to do that. I mean, no one's ever going to see it unless they look up in your car, but I'll get the trim off and then I'll show you exactly what to do. Okay, one thing I forgot to mention is you have to remove these plastic pieces, and then you need to remove your come off, and then you have to remove your sun visors. I forgot about that. Let me get this plastic piece off, and I can't do it with holding this. I'll try. Let me off a little more. I can do that. Ooh, don't lose your screws. Make sure you have a magnetic dish or someplace to put your screws. And to get these off, you need to take that nut off. When you take that nut off, sometimes this washer here, there's a big spring under there that will make that pop up. So you got to make sure when you take it off, that doesn't pop off and go flying into outer space. You'll never find it again. Alright, I'll be back in a minute. Okay, I got everything off, and I'm just going to let this hang rather than disconnect the wiring from the mirror. But it's been a while since I did this, and you do not have to remove these A-pillar plastic pieces. You just need to remove this header piece going across here, which, to get off, you need to unscrew this one Phillips screw holding the mirror in, and then you need to remove your sun visors, which is probably the biggest pain in the butt of the whole thing. And if you never remove these sun visors, what they do is they go in through, let me see, I'm trying to get this on camera good, sorry if I don't, and goes in there, and then you can see a spring come over here. This spring goes on top like that with this washer with that star on it, holds it in place, and a little nut that goes over that. I'll try and show you when I put it back together, but you got to be careful. This thing will spring upward and shoot off on you. Now basically what I have to do is put the top back on, tighten these 2 back ones, and then tighten these here. Once I tighten them, I'll come up through here. Here, I'll get the tool, I'll show you a little better. Exact same tool you use to remove and replace your top. You come up through here and tighten these nuts. Tighten or loosen, whichever you got to do. And tighten everything down. And then once you get everything tightened, remove the top again. Put all your trim pieces back, and then you have the option of putting your top back on or going for a drive with the top off. But here, I'll get to doing that. I'll get the top back on and get back to you. Okay, I'm inside the car. All the brackets are tightened up except this one, and you can see how that thing is moving around and not really lining up. So I'm going to get it as lined up as best I can, and then I'm going to go in here with this tool and try and get that sucker to start. It's kind of difficult to do, of course, with one hand, but let's see if we can do it. It's better to go like, I think I got it. Gonna get it tightened. Hopefully you guys can see that pulling down. Uh-oh. This is very difficult to do with one hand, I'll have to tell you that. Get it nice and snug. And now I'm going to tighten these. This sucker is way off. Yeah. There it is. Okay. Okay. That is good to go. Now, now that sucker's on there, I could take a, get it good and tight. I believe it's 18 foot-pounds torque. You're supposed to torque these two. I'm not really sure. If I can find out, I will, let's make sure these are tight too. Yeah, they're tight. Definitely. Yeah. So everything is good. Maybe I should just go ahead and loosen these up. They ain't coming loose. They're on there good and tight. There it goes. And let's get them loose a little. And then I'll retighten them this way. I know they're tightened up good. Alright. Okay, I think my ratchet might be on its way out. That's tight. So basically now, this is what I have to do. I have to take the top off, put all the trim pieces back on. And I could probably put this trim piece back on without taking this top off, but I still got to take the top off in order to get the sun visors back on. So I'll go ahead and get the top off. I'll put the sun visors on and we'll retest fit it. And in fact, before I put everything together, I'll retest fit this several times to make sure it all goes back off and on fine. And I'll get back to you here soon. Let me start taking this sucker off. Okay, I got the top off again, and remember I said there are these plastic bushings in here, hopefully you can see that hold these in place. And they're actually in there, they're just so hard and wore out, they're not doing anything. So I'll have to get those new plastic bushings. I could probably just pick up some plastic bar stock and make my own or whatever. I'll come up with something to make it stay in there, even I'll maybe wrap a little electrical tape around it or something. But I'll find something. And these brackets here, if I get a good picture, this is all snugged up and ready to go back on. I test fitted it, and I'll see if I can orient this camera that I can video putting this sun visor back on. But in the meantime, I need to get that trim piece back on. I'll get that on. That's just basically some Phillips screws. The same with the mirror. You got to make sure you get your wire tucked in good. And I'll go ahead and do that and get back to you. Okay, I'm going to try and show you how to get these on. But basically, you're going to slide this into that tapered hole. You're going to, oh, by the way, I put a little grease on there. And then you're going to slide this over, and you're going to press it down with a socket. In this case, I'm going to use one of these screw-style bit-side things. Push it down, and put the nut on there. And what you want to do is push down and thread it at the same time and get it to thread. That's usually what you have to do. I'm hoping you guys can see in this. And I'll try and get a better shot when I'm putting it in. It's going to be difficult because I'm working alone and I don't have anyone hold the camera for me. So I'll do the best I can. Another thing to do is these wires. Let me see, I'll show you here if I can show you. This wire here is going to connect there. And you want to try and shove them up inside this plastic piece. You can leave them hang. I don't like doing that. I just don't like the way they look. What you can do is just leave this one screw that holds this corner in. This corner here and then push down and shove it all up in there. If you've never done this before, it'll be frustrating. It's frustrating. I think this is maybe the third time I've done it over the years, and it's still frustrating. So try to remain calm and be patient, and just take your time, and everything will be fine. Like I said, when you put the mirror in and you put that sun visors back on, you want to make sure you don't pinch those wires and short something out. So I'll see what I can do. Alright, hopefully everyone can see that. But this actually went on real easy for a change. I've had them where they're a real pain in the butt. And you got to make sure the wire is out of the way of this bolt and any other bolts or screws, so you don't pierce them with the screw when you put it back in. So just be real careful when you do that. If you feel you're better off letting it hang, just let it hang, and try and tuck it up in there where it won't annoy you. I guess that's the best word to say. I could probably tuck that up in there better. I'll have to see what I can do. I mean, you could do this with this all loose, or after you get it on, loosen this all up and drop it and let it sit against there, I guess, and try and route the wires that way too. Either way, it's a pain in the ass. Hope this helps. Once this is all adjusted and done, your top should come off and on easy again. Like I said, I've had over the years where, like this time, where it just came loose. That's the first time I ever had that happen. But I have had in the past where the top just wouldn't go back on, and I had to adjust these brackets. Especially after driving down a real rough road, or being parked on a real uneven surface. So keep that in mind. I hope this helps. Hope everybody has a really great day. And looks like the weather out there is beautiful still, so I'm going to head out probably if I get some things done around here. And God bless. Thanks for watching. Subscribe and hit the notification bell.